If you start to think that there is a chance that your parent may have some serious memory issues, regardless of type.
Because there's a wide range.
Yes.
From age-related memory to dementia to Alzheimer's, it's a wide range, but there is usually a progression. So if you start to see it early, prepare yourself, prepare your parent, because it usually is going to get worse, not better.
If you are worried about your parent being at home, then you already know that you need to make a decision.
Right.
I'm now going through the same thing you went through, and that is dealing with a parent who has memory issues.
Oh, yes.
And trying to make some decisions
Yes.
and move forward. And
This is just a part of what, when you're over 50, you have to deal with.
it is. One thing I had that you didn't have was a nice set of KOJO videos to watch to help me through the process. Which,
Trial by fire.
yeah, well, it wasn't for me because you really did help a lot.
There's no rule book.
No.
Nobody was around to say, oh, be sure and do this.
But now we have these videos that she did, and
Yes.
I highly recommend watching those.
Yeah, we'll link those below.
I thought I would just tell you what I've learned
And seeing how that application affects you.
and how important it is to follow these things. I watched her go through this. We've all watched our friends and families go through these things. It's just hard. I think we all think we're going to do better, and maybe our parent isn't going to be as bad as the other person's
Or you think,
parent.
I'll just think about that when the time comes.
Right.
And
you
the
can't.
time comes sooner than you expect it to.
And when it
sometimes.
comes, it's not just gently knocking on the door. It's beating the door down, kicking it down, possibly. You have to go, 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 go. And there is no real time of rest or anything like that.
But there are things you can do to prepare yourself if and when that time comes.
And you can be prepared. Don't do what we did. Do you think we're overreacting? Do you think we should do something? What?
Yeah.
Maybe we
it's
should
just age related.
Yes, that's all it. No.
Yeah.
If you are worried, go with your gut. Go ahead and start
If
the
your
process.
parent has told you the same story 3 times in the same hour or even the same day, it's probably an indication that it's time to get your parent to the doctor. They can run some tests, they call them mini mentals, just to kind of assess where they are memory-wise, that will help predict where they are and where they need to be.
And they can also do CT scans to check for plaque on the brain. There are certain things they can do. Really, they reassure you in your gut what you are already
Also,
thinking.
it's important to note that there are certain medications that can be given to slow the memory loss process if you catch it early enough. I can't stress that enough because my mother had reached a point, I mean, she was on all those meds, but really she started on them too late. So at some point, they became non-effective and the doctors took her off of all those because you've got to catch it early.
That takes me to the second thing that I realized. You can use your parent's doctor to make your case with your parent. It's pretty easy to do if you speak to the doctor ahead of time and say, here's what we're seeing. You don't want to shame your parent because they're going through enough.
Right.
But you know what you see, and you want to make sure that this is indeed what you think it is. And I will tell you, in most cases, it probably is. That doctor will then start to speak to the parent about driving and about not being alone during the day and things
Eating.
like that. Eating, all those things.
You can slip a note to the doctor through the receptionist if you're with your parent when you check in, because you don't want to embarrass the parent. So write them a note and they will be sure to get it to the doctor before he actually sees.
And most doctors have portals now. You can do a lot of messaging
Right.
through that portal and take care of these things ahead of time and after, and really stay in close contact with that physician. That was something that really helped us. It wasn't enough for us to tell our parent that that's what we thought should happen. It really made more of an impact to hear it from someone who was more objective.
Yes, because after all, she's the one who changed your diapers.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, we're just the kids. That really did help us convince her of this. So I strongly suggest that you use that relationship with the physician. The third thing that I realized was when it came time to make the decision about a facility. Using a service like A Place for Mom, and there are some others out there, those are awesome.
Yeah.
They are really, really good. They ask a lot of very important questions, and they make you think about what you want for your parent. They give you, I think we had 5 or 6 different ones that they gave to us to go and visit.
It takes some of the guesswork out of it.
It does. And they don't get a fee from you. It doesn't cost you anything. We found after going around and looking that what they had chosen, we tried to do a little on our own too to make sure that we were still covering all of our bases. What we ultimately found out was that they did a great job and they helped us make a really good decision. When we got down to our top 2 or 3, we did decide to take Mom around with us so that she would have a say in it because she deserved to have a say. And we were all very happy to know that she was in favor of the one that we loved as well. Yeah. It's been unbelievably fantastic. Yeah. I cannot tell you.
You've had a great experience.
We have had a great experience. Yeah. But I will say we have probably done this a little bit earlier than some people do with their parents. And I think it's because I was a little more sensitive to the issue because of what you had been through. And I knew it was coming. I think it's just really important to be self-aware. And when I say self-aware, just understand what you see is truly what you're seeing. Do not second guess yourself. It is so much easier to do this when your parent can be a part of it instead of when they're a little bit more progressed. You make this great point of it doesn't get better.
That's why it's important to look for those facilities who have a progression of care, even if it's just 1 or 2 levels, because that keeps your parent where they're comfortable and familiar for longer.
Yes.
Because it's always disruptive if they have to move.
And that was something that A Place for Mom said to us several times. That was something that each facility that we spoke with, we even had one that said, we don't have the progression of care that we think you will need. We don't suggest you come to us because it's going to be too hard on them to move.
Wow.
And they didn't have to tell us that.
Yeah, that's great.
It was so nice that they were honest.
Makes you feel good to know that they were being upfront with you.
Absolutely.
Another thing we were told was make sure that you've got RNs around the clock in whichever facility you choose. One of the facilities where I had my mother, they say they had an RN, but that only meant she was on campus for a portion of the day, when in fact they had 3 or 4 buildings on the campus. And invariably, when my mother needed an RN, she was not on site. And that's so hard.
It is.
And on weekends and at night, there needs to be an RN available. Yes. Don't overlook that. She didn't stay in that facility for very long because of that reason.
And I think that what that parlays into is always look at what your day is going to look like as a child taking care of the parent, regardless of whether they're in a facility or they're in your own home. You need to think about what that day is going to look like. If you don't have something like an RN on staff all the time, that's going to rock your day because you are going to have to step in and do a lot to make sure that your parent gets the care that they need. If you have that time, if you have that desire to do that, that's great. But if you still have kids in the house or you have a full-time job, that is going to make it more difficult. And it's not about whether you care enough about your parent. It's just that it's so important that you are still taking care of you and doing the things you need to do, because if you're not good, then you're not going to be any good to your parents. So make sure you're lining this stuff up in a way that you are taking care of your responsibilities and what you need to do and your priorities. If it becomes totally about that parent, you're going to go underwater really quick.
Yeah. The further the memory issues progress, the more accidents they're going to have, the more they're going to fall. So that's when it becomes extremely important to be able to have that quick care, because you may be in a position where you can drive across town from your job and get to the facility, but if you have a nurse on hand, they're going to be able to administer care right there in a timely manner.
Try to make your parents' room in the facility look as much like home as you possibly can. There are a lot of different reasons to do this. The main reason is it won't look like it's such a different place.
Yeah.
My mom loves that her bedroom at the facility looks just like her bedroom at home.
Yeah.
We set it up exactly the same way. Also, if they have memory issues, it's also because they won't feel so out of place when they're
Yeah.
sitting in the room, and they will feel like they're in their normal surroundings, and that is really, really important. She talks about it still, how much she loves it. She just thinks it's so pretty, and she likes that it's her stuff.
Yeah. Now, there will come a time when those aesthetics don't play as vital a role because their vision decreases. They're not really aware of their environment the way they are at the beginning of the journey.
And you're right, it does depend on what stage they are in their diagnosis. But we were early enough to where this was really important.
Yeah. The earlier, the more important that is.
When you said, be sure to get all your documentation in order, man, oh man, oh man.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Do it. Do it now. If your parent is in wonderful shape and is running
Get them to
5Ks,
help you. If that's the case,
then
get
do
them
it.
to help you get the
But do it.
documentation in order.
You have to get that together. I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how important that is. We did it because of all you'd been through. I called my siblings and said, we got to do this. And so we started the process. And I will say, as we started going through the process, that's when we started seeing more signs of what we needed to do. Not because of the state of things, but because of not remembering where things were put and keeping things, lots of papers, because
Like, oh, I need that power of attorney. Where is it? And then not be able to find
exactly,
it. Yeah.
and not remembering really important things that we needed to have or find or know about, not having no clue about it at all. So that really, as we went through the process, really reinforced it. That was huge. We did pull all of that together, and it was kind of a bear to do it. However, I cannot tell you how much that has served us as we've gone through the rest of the process. So that gets me to number 6, taking photos of everything, credit cards, all the things you're gonna need to pay for services for your parent.
Driver's license.
Driver's license, I have all of that.
Health insurance cards.
Yes, all of that on your phone. Because everywhere you go, you're going to be asked for something and you just can't remember. And even if one of your siblings may have it, well, they're probably busy right now. They can't get with you. You need to have that information.
And once
at
you
your
have that
fingertips.
file and it's online and you keep it in the cloud, for instance, you can share it with your siblings. So say your sibling has your mother in the emergency room. Well, she's going to have access to that same health insurance card that you just had last week. So it's nice to be able to share that information.
I recommend letting everybody know what passwords are to all the accounts that they have. That includes email accounts, but also vendor accounts of any sort, making sure that everybody has those, because you're so worried about setting things up in case your parent is either not here or is not able to take care of themselves. Well, those things can happen to us as well. So if you're the gatekeeper and you have all of it and something happens to you, then your siblings are going to go through all of this again trying to get that information. So make sure you have everything out there where everybody can see it.
And in many cases, there are certain agencies or health insurance companies that require to speak to the parent and not you, even if the parent verbally says, yes, you may talk to my daughter for me. It's helpful to find out, okay, what documents can my parent sign to make sure that that is not a hurdle you have to go through. Because many times, like my father, was not in a condition where he could really communicate very well, yet they weren't willing to talk to me until they got him to give them permission. And sometimes that permission had to be in writing. Again, start early, gather your documents, do it sooner than later.
Amen, amen, amen. That was a lifesaver for us. Besides having just photos of things, I needed scanned copies of all the durable powers of attorney,
The will.
and the healthcare power of attorney as well. I found myself sitting in banks and talking to someone and them saying, I can't speak to you unless I have that power of attorney. And I would be like,
Exactly.
send. All right,
Exactly.
now talk to me. it could happen that quickly. It wasn't I have to get in the car and go and come
Or
back.
it could be if your parent were to fall while they're in an assisted living facility, the rehab facility will not even admit your parent until they have a copy of the advance directive. So if you don't have that advance directive on hand, it's going to delay the process until you can gather all those documents.
Another thing, I have a portable, fireproof file box. If I'm gone
You
most
keep
weekends,
it in your car, don't you?
I don't keep it in the car, but I take it every weekend if we go down to the lake or something. I'm going to be there for a few days. I will take that with me in case there's an emergency and I need to go back and look through some things because I can't have scans of everything on my phone.
Well, and sometimes they require hard documents. It's good to have both.
It is. And I wouldn't leave it in the car all the time. It's a little dangerous, but having it be a fireproof box is very important because you don't want to lose those. That was another thing that I learned from you, to make sure I had a place for those things and to have them at my fingertips at all times. Number 9, I learned this from you and from your sister. Don't get upset with your parent if they don't remember, if they repeat things over and over again, or if they have an episode. I've had some situations, they will sometimes get angry. They will sometimes get very, very sad. This is a true illness that causes a lot of pain. It's important to understand that you're speaking with someone who is ill. Whatever they have to say that could be maybe not as nice sometimes, or maybe worse than that, understand that that's the illness talking. That is not your parent
They're losing
talking.
control. My mother was aware that she was losing control, and that's what would cause her to lash out. And she's probably going to lash out at the person in the closest proximity. So if you're there taking care of your parent, expect it. Expect it. It just goes along with the disease.
It does. So don't take it personally. If you're lucky like both of us and you do have siblings that you're going through this with, then you have the sibling to look at and say, can you believe how crazy our parents are? Because you're going to need to say that a few times.
It's so helpful to have someone to bounce ideas off, or to get reactions for, or just to vent, because you're going to need to vent as much as your parent is going to need to vent about you.
And short of a jug with XXX across the front of it that you're going to want to, I mean, that's about the best you can do. And it has honestly helped a lot in bringing our siblings together.
Yeah.
With a unified front, and it has been a very nice surprise that has come out of all of this, is having this ability to get a little bit closer.
You've bonded, really.
I think we have. You know, we're all over the place. We're not all in the same state. This has caused us to speak on the phone with each other. And in the course of, emptying out the house and moving and having to spend so much time together, we've all made the time to do this together.
Silver linings.
It's the silver lining.
You have to look for them, especially because this is hard stuff.
It is.
It's hard. And so if you can have a sibling or a friend or a loved one that can help take some of the load off, it is invaluable.
And if you don't have siblings, here's what I will tell you. I have some friends who do not have siblings, and I would do this with them. And you have friends that'll do this with you.
Yeah.
And you'll need those friends so that you can look at them and say, I can't believe how crazy my parents are. You're going to want to do that. I can't believe I'm going through here picking out the toys that I had when I was 3 years old, trying to figure out what to keep and what to give away. And we even got to the point where it was something that was kind of nice that we all really loved. Do you want this? No, I don't want to look at any more stuff. Just let me get out. You're just so tired. You need somebody to bounce things off of and to also crack jokes with. And humor for me is the only thing. I have to laugh through everything. So it's been, you're right, a silver lining for sure.
And it's good to have loved ones, friends, siblings who can say, let's think about that. I'm not so sure. My siblings and I didn't agree on everything, but once we talked through, it was pretty easy to form a consensus about which direction to go.
Yes, and I think that is because the main objective is to take care of your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody is focused on that, it really will, it'll
It's
work
like
out
having
fine.
a corporate mission. Our mission is to take care of our parent and give the best quality of life they are capable of having.
Absolutely. And number 10, caregiver fatigue. If you aren't okay, then you can't take care of your parent in the way that you need to. Make sure that as much as you are taking care of your parent, that you keep yourself as a priority, your own family, your spouse. They do come first. Make it known to your siblings that that is the deal. Stand up for your family.
For yourself.
For yourself, and I will tell you that has happened in our family, and we have all just filled in when we needed to. It really has worked out a lot better than I thought it would, but what's most important is that you take your breaks and you say no when you need to say no, even if it's a no to your parent.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're like, can you come down and see me? I can't. I have a full-time job, but I can come down X and see you then. As sometimes confused as they might get, they understand that. They understand. I think it's really, really important to understand that you have to put you have to put your relationship with your spouse. We all know that comes first, then your kids, and then you decide what you need to do with your parent. You have permission to do that, so take it.
And if you don't take it, who will end up being hurt by it is your parent.
Yes. So that's what I learned.
You learned a lot.
I learned a lot. And I just want to share it because you're right, there's not enough resources out there.
In talking about community of, the people that we know who are over 50, who may be dealing with things like this, to be able to share with them, here's how I handled it, here's how we handled it. It helps all of us.
And don't be afraid to talk about it. I think when it comes to anything that has to do with the brain, like a traumatic brain injury or memory issues, people seem to be a little embarrassed by that, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. This is truly an illness, and it's a progressive and sometimes wicked illness. It should be discussed. You should get the support you need. If in any way we are helping, that will make us both so happy because that's really the reason we did this channel.
That's the only reason that we're doing this.
Exactly. I appreciate you sharing it. It really did help my journey. We breezed through so many parts of the journey because we were very well prepared because of what we learned. There's no reason that you can't breeze through it as well, but you have to have the guts to get out there, have the difficult decisions with your parents, and start making things happen, even if it's just the documentation.
Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions that we haven't covered.
If you've got some tips, I'm still going through this. I would love to hear what you have to share, and we'll pass it along. We're just here trying to be part of a community and share the knowledge.
Yeah.